Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound Podcast Dog of the Week video. And this video is for my favorite betting underdog for the UFC Fight Night, Carlos Prates taking on Garry live from Kansas City. And if you haven't already and you're enjoying the content over here on the Ground and Pound Podcast, we have betting insight, full card breakdowns, you name it, we have it. If you've enjoyed the content, hit that like and subscribe button, and let's talk a little bit about who is going to be the dog of the week. And this week we have a few different viable options, I believe. I think Giga Chikadze starting us off would be a viable dog of the week, and very savvy veteran, kickboxing style, taking on David Onama. He's always liable for a head kick, and maybe he's liable to be dog of the week this week. And we also have another option in Carlos Prates, Fighting Nerds. They've been on an absolute tear recently. Do you really want to get in the way of the Fighting Nerds? Currently, Carlos Prates undefeated inside the UFC, knocking everybody out in the main event. Should he be dog of the week? We'll find out. But we have Abus Nurmagomedov, and Abus taking on Michel Pereira. He has the wrestling credentials to be able to get this fight to the ground, wear on Pereira and tire him out. A liable dog, in my opinion. And we also have Cameron Simon, the young man that trains with Dracus du Plessis, the current middleweight champion. And he was sitting at around plus 100. I think it's now a pick'em, but he's been flip-flopping back and forth while I've been doing this video breakdown. But he's also a viable option for dog of the week. But who is going to be this week's dog of the week? My favorite betting underdog for UFC Fight Night, Carlos Prates taking on Garry, is going to be Carlos, the Fighting Nerd Prates, and we had to do it. I don't want to get in the way of this train that's been the Fighting Nerd so far inside the UFC. Native of Brazil, obviously. Carlos Prates, mostly a striker, obviously has a little bit of a ground game, but we don't tend to see that much of it, mostly because of his kickboxing and Muay Thai credentials. And the guy's been putting people out. He's been on a roll, and taking on Garry in this particular matchup, I like him in this style matchup. I don't think Garry is going to be able to get Prates to the ground. I think it's kind of crazy here that we're getting Prates at plus money. I understand people love Garry. I understand he's a very, very liable future champion, possibly. But I don't see him beating Prates in this matchup. I don't see him being able to get the fight to the ground. I think Prates is the much better, harder puncher. And I think as well, I think the Fighting Nerds are going to have a great game plan for him coming in to take on a guy like Garry, who Garry has shown improvements from fight to fight, but Carlos Prates, I mean, what I notice in MMA is once a guy has momentum, you don't want to get off of that train until they give you reason to. So I think in this particular matchup, I think the keys to victory for him are to stay off the fence. We've seen that Garry likes to try to get people in the clinch, hold them up against the fence, make fights boring, wear on them, stamp on their toes. Well, Carlos Prates, if you stay off the fence, keep this fight in the middle of the octagon, circle if he tries to back you up against the fence, land shots in combinations, throw in combinations, you let your hands go. He is not the kind of guy, Garry, that's going to shoot from miles out. He's going to look to try to corral you against the fence. So by throwing in combinations, you're going to land first and land third. You know, and what I think with Prates in this particular matchup is him being the harder hitter. He's going to test out his power on Garry's chin. Garry, who has been rocked in many, many fights before previously, even against low-level opposition inside the UFC. I think Prates is combinations in his hands are going to be too much for Garry in this particular matchup. So let the combinations fly, throwing combinations in a sense of, you know, looking for his chin, looking for the finish. And I think it'll be there, as we've seen in many fights Garry has been dropped in the past. And forward pressure, making sure that you're moving forward. I don't want you on the back foot. If Ian is going to wrestle, we want to be the one moving forward. That's going to negate his wrestling. That's going to negate his entries. And also as well, look for knees up the middle. If we're pressuring forward, we want to look for straight shots like knees up the middle and just making sure that we're not getting corralled against the fence. And that's my dog of the week. I don't understand how we can be getting Carlos Prates plus money. I know there's a lot of love out there for Garry, but I really like Carlos Prates here as my dog of the week to put some money in your wallets here on the Ground and Pound podcast. And before I wrap things up, Just make sure you guys check out the full card breakdown that Carlos and I do every single Wednesday. The same as usual, we have the full card breakdown for this particular event in Kansas City. Prates taking on Garry. That's more of a detailed breakdown for you guys that are more hardcore fans that like to listen to the real sort of intricate elements of MMA from a former professional fighter himself. And also keep an eye out for my best bets video. Best bets video for this particular event is going to come out Thursday or Friday, so keep an eye out for that as I go through all of my plays for this UFC event on Saturday. And if you haven't already, people, and you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate your love and support as we grow on the channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.